man? Welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate. I got a great guest for you today, a new friend of mine, Mr. Dan Alcorn. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, dude. I'm glad I'm on here today, man. It's getting to know you a little bit and kind of what you're doing, man. What a great community to kind of just let people know the good, the bad, the ugly, because there's so much of that in this business.
There is. So for the audience, Dan's a new friend of mine. We actually just got acquainted right before starting this episode, and this is just the beginning of more things to come. But this is not about me; it's about you, Dan. So if you could please share your story from beginning to now.
Yeah. Well, I've been a real estate investor now for 16 years. I'll say this, Jose, I'm a slow learner. And this is why. It's taken me probably 12 to 13 years to kind of figure out this real estate game.
Sure.
Early on, I kind of was working the 9 to 5, the job, and there's probably a lot of you watching this today that have been in my shoes. So I feel you. Okay. And I got a course online. It's told, hey, buy these signs, stick them out. Phone would ring. And lo and behold, I wholesaled the deal. And that was cool, right? But I didn't really have a real passion behind it. I was still working my job. And whenever I needed some extra spending money, I would put up more signs. The phone would ring and I would sell a property, right? And that worked until it didn't, you know? So I had kind of a crossroads in my life where I really wanted to get into real estate full time. Didn't really know how to do it. I talked to a good friend of mine and she's like, dude, you got the plan. Just take the leap. But the problem, Jose, is I had the fear. I had the fear of taking action. And if you're on this podcast today and you're feeling me, I understand that. It's tough. I always say, get the F out of real estate. And what I mean, not you, but get the fear. Get the fear out, right? So I took imperfect action. I quit my job. I had some money in the bank that I'd kind of stowed away as my nest egg, like all heck breaks loose. I can do this. And now, mind you, this in my life, I was working a sales job. I was a sales manager making okay money. But my wife was a stay-at-home with 3 young kids. So I was the breadwinner, insurance, everything like that. So I literally took the risk. And of course, I talked to my wife and she was, she's been my rock for so long, dude. I could not have done this without her. But we took the leap and it wasn't easy. I wish I could sit here to you today, be like, yeah, dude, first month we did $100,000 and we were killing it. No, it was a struggle, a straight struggle. And, we would get a deal here, get a deal there. To show you how much of a struggle it is, I don't do this today. And if you're watching, don't use this strategy. But I would get the earnest from a seller and that would use to pay my bills. Like I would hold earnest.
Oh, wow.
Of course, it was counted for. I know whether that's ethical or not, it doesn't matter. I guess it would have been my money. We've always closed on those deals, right? So it's not like I didn't have intention of getting the deal done. But I was that broke. Like I was not good with money. That's a whole nother story in and of itself. My father got into a bad accident. I could tell you about all the reasons I shouldn't be successful, but we can go there if you so choose. But in regards to my real estate journey, I struggled a lot. And there came a real low point in my life where, I got that letter in the mail that my home was going to be foreclosed on. And to talk about a gut punch of, man, here I'm marketing to people that in this position, and here I am. And talk about the slap in the face. A few days later, I got a call from one of my friends, and she's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah, another friend of mine had called her because they were concerned about me. Like, hey, we saw Dan's on the foreclosure list." And they were too afraid to even call me. But this other lady, she's a dear friend of mine, the same woman who told me to take the jump. She's like, "Yeah, right." And I played it off. I'm like, I got this. I totally got this. It's probably just an error. We'll get it taken care of. But deep down inside, bro, there was nights. I was sweating. I was not sleeping. It was a real low point in my life. And I had a good friend of mine who lives in Florida with me now. And in fact, one of the reasons I moved down here is because of him, because he's my best friend. And I picked up the phone, called him and said, "Brother, I normally wouldn't do this, but I'm about to lose my home." And the crazy thing, Jose, is without even questioning, he's like, "What do you need?" And at that point, It was $5,000 I needed to bring my home current, get me out of foreclosure. And he's like, I'll have it wired to you tomorrow. And I just bawled on the phone. Like someone cared enough to do that for me. And we were good friends, but that really solidified our friendship. You got a homie when you can go to someone like that and they helped you out, right? But at that point in my life, Jose, that was a turning point for me because I realized I never want to get to this point again. So I started taking things more serious. I started building out systems. I had a CRM, but I started using it more. Back in the day, I was using the FreedomSoft CRM, which is still a great CRM around today. Rob Swanson, I know him personally. Great tool. So if you need a CRM, talk to Rob. His team will hook you up. Anyway, so I started using that, started doing regular mailer campaigns. I was sending out regular intervals. I was scheduling things like a business. Because early on, if you're doing this, you have to treat it like a business.
Absolutely.
If you don't, you're going to flounder, just like I did for 12 freaking years. Right? I'm a slow learner. Did I mention that already? Jose?
Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I'm banging my head against the wall. Like, why? And back then, I didn't know. And I'll tell, and I figured it out. But I'll get to that. I realized that I didn't want to have this low spot in my life, so I started building things out. Fast forward, I had the same friends, by the way, that actually were too afraid to tell me about the foreclosure, had called me and said, "Hey, Dan, we have this proposition for you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So can we come to your home? I'm like, "Come to my home? Well, can't we just talk on the phone?" Like, "No, we need to meet." I'm like, "Fine." So they came on over. They're like, "Hey, can we use your TV?" I'm like, "Sure." So they hooked up their computer. They had a full PowerPoint presentation. And they said, "We want you and us to be together." And I'm just floored at this point. I'm like, kind of a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like I'm doing deals. I'm kind of a player in the market. Maybe one or two a month, but nothing crazy.
Right.
And they're like, "We know you're good at sales. We're not good at sales. What we're really good at is the back office and the systems." And I'm like, this is a God thing, dude, because like that's my weakness.
Right.
Like you have me go out and talk to people. I got you. And lo and behold, we formed a partnership. Well, let me give you some time stamping here. That event came about February of 2020.
Okay.
Happened March of 2020, Jose.
COVID, yeah.
COVID, right? So we formed a business, and a month later, the world shut down. So we had a meeting and said, "Well, what do we want to do? We just started this thing." And they're like, "What the heck? Let's roll the dice." And for the next 3 years, we had some really amazing opportunities. And they were very good friends of mine. Now, what is the old adage? Never go into business with friends or family.
Right.
I'll put a caveat to that. If you do it, have your paperwork in order.
Sure.
And have clear communication. And we had that.
Yeah.
So things were going well. We're doing about maybe 2 to 3 deals a month. They're making money. They were focused on the multifamily. They were very good at flipping properties in regards to rehabs, right? I was very good at wholesaling properties, and that's what intrigued them. That's always been my bread and butter. So we're doing deals that we're pulling down a flip every so often, doing that, making some decent money. Life is good. Life is good. Well, here comes another, bump in the road. 3 years later, it was 2023, I guess, at this point, 2023. They came after, they went to a retreat with a mastermind with another good friend of mine, and they were really analyzing their vision. And I'll tell you this, guys, if you're getting into this, you need to get clarity on why you're doing this business. So important, because the ugly part of this that Jose talks about a lot on this podcast is going to come. And the bigger you get, the more ugly you get. The uglier it gets busy. Does it get bigger? Is that true, Jose?
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So if you don't have a clear why, you're going to quit. So I guess I focus all that they went into this retreat and came back and said, "Dan, we're going to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Hey, listen, we love you. We love you, love you, love you. You're one of our best friends. We just don't want to be in this business anymore." And they're like, "Well, we don't need to, we'll give you time. We'll do this." Now, they had commercial stuff going on. They had other money, revenue things coming in. Dude, this was my bread and butter. So imagine the shot to the gut again, realizing I went in a tailspin. I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? Now I got to go do it myself. The reason I'm in this business is because they're doing all this stuff. I'm doing that stuff. And my brain was going like crazy. Well, then I had a life-changing moment. Oddly enough, my good friend who had paid for my chance to get out of jail with the foreclosure, his name is Sean, had been encouraging me forever. He's like, Dan, you got to go to see Tony Robbins. You got to go see Tony Robbins. And I never, ever made that a priority. Well, it was a season of life that, all right, let's do it. He's like, listen, I got you free tickets to the virtual. There's no excuses. Other than I had to commit 4 days. And if anyone's been to a Tony Robbins event, it's not like a normal Zoom. It's 4 full days of all out playing and putting your all into it. You're not doing side things. Life shuts down for 4 days, but that's intentional, even through Zoom. But what that did for me, Jose, is it challenged my mindset.
Okay.
And what I realized, the prior 12 years of failure was my self-limiting beliefs. You know, I never came from a family from money. Matter of fact, many cases, many Christmases, I was lucky if I got a gift. My dad got into a bad accident when I was younger. My mom was jumping around from this to that to the other, dealing with her own demons because of the accident that happened to my dad, right?
Right.
So I was kind of a throwaway in the eyes of many. But I survived and made through it, as a B student in school. And, even at a young age, I was managing my own restaurant at 18. So I figured life out a little bit, right? But I realized it was all me. But I had so many self-limiting beliefs of success and scarcity that I would get to a point in any point in business and I would just stop. I would shut down. And when I realized, I didn't believe I deserved success. I also believed that I did not deserve money. Like, money's bad, money's evil. I don't know where all that came from, but it was part of probably my upbringing and just some poor experiences that I've had, right?
Right.
What Tony Robbins did is he takes you on this process. If you've ever been to a UPW or Unleash the Power Within, I highly recommend going. There's an event, I think in October in LA of all places. I think over by you. I'm not sure where exactly you're located, Jose, but in Cali. Definitely go. It's life-changing. But what he did is he takes you this journey. It's called the Dickens process, where it talks about these self-limiting beliefs and he destroys them, obliterates them, but he doesn't leave you there. He then has you rebuild them. So what I ended up doing is creating these I am statements. I deserve wealth. I am a deal maker, right? I also had imposter syndrome with being a real estate investor. I didn't think I was. Here's this guy in the market. Everyone thought you're doing deals. Like I was one of the main players. In my own brain, I thought I was completely a fraud. And I had to step into my identity of who I was.
Right.
And I'm telling you, that light switch in that moment, at that point in time, everything changed. And within 30 days, I rebuilt a business all on my own, systems, processes. And in the first 8 months, so from April to December of 23, I made $500,000 myself.
That's great.
I've never made that much money in a lifetime.
Right.
And I made $500,000 in 8 months. What was the caveat on that? My mind changed. And once my mind was aligned with my actions, I took massive imperfect action. Part about it I needed to, but I also saw myself in a different light and I didn't let the struggles, it wasn't all easy. I think that paired with finding the right mentors, and God put some people in front of me that were just perfect for me at that season of life.
Right.
I took massive action. And since then I've kind of built a team and, we're on task right now to generate probably about $1.5 million this year. Of revenue. And, we had some bumps in the road over the last few years, but we are on some cusp of doing some amazing stuff with my company. So
congratulations on that. That's a lot. That's like the goal for a lot of people, right? Is to get to that point. So
yeah, absolutely. But it's not easy. And I think the challenge we find today in society, Jose, is we're in a microwave society. What I mean by that is we want instant gratification. We are in 3-second swipe society.
Yep.
If it doesn't get my attention in 3 seconds, if I don't see instant gratification, swipe. And that's how we handle life. And sometimes we jump from one thing to the next. Oh, I'm going to be an Amazon fulfillment guy. I'm going to be a social media influencer. That didn't work. I'm going to be a real estate investor. Whatever the thing comes in your feed that's trying to capture your attention.
Right.
We don't stick with it. Find something that's important to you, to your core, and work a plan. And that's how you see results, because results come from long-term. That's the ugly of this business. It's not easy and it takes time.
Absolutely. So much to unpack here.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry, man.
gonna
I know I went on.
no, no,
You could have
no.
stopped
I
me
mean, it's like,
anytime, but I gave you everything in a little bundle there. Yeah,
no,
what
I
you got?
appreciate that. Appreciate that. So what I want to do is kind of take a few steps back, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that are watching this, a lot of people that get into real estate,
Mhm.
are kind of like where you were, right?
Mm.
They're living paycheck to paycheck, but they
Mhm.
want to find some kind of avenue or way to get out of their situation that they're in. You were in a situation where you almost lost your house.
Mhm.
So, as somebody who was basically struggling with finances at the time,
Mm.
how are you able to afford like doing deals, right?
Yeah.
Because you said you were doing deals, you were using the EMD
Mm.
when you were selling the houses or whatever. So
Yeah. Not
people were
proud
like,
of
how
that,
can you
Brad,
do
but I
that? Like,
did do it. It's
how
my
can you have
story.
money to do it? So can you share that with us?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest reason why I was successful is I used the wholesaling model.
Yeah.
What that model allows you to do, Jose, as you well know, you can be in for little to no money. So some of my basic cost early on was marketing, and my bread and butter was always bandit signs. I had $40, a Sharpie, and went to Home Depot and bought a handful of signs and stuck them out. That's why I started. Eventually I got a little extra cash. I'd go to like one of those sign providers, and back then it was like 300, $400 delivered to my door. Get 100 signs. I figured this out early, that if I stuck out 100 signs, I got a deal. Wasn't real good with the business side of it, but I realized if I do that, so whenever I needed money, I would just spend another $500. And back then I was probably bringing in, seven to $10,000 wholesales, which, back then was pretty good. Even today, I'm sure most people, if you can make an extra $10,000 a month, that could probably change your life. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. So, that's what I did, and that's kind of how I was able to kind of use some of the income. But even then, I was just, I would burn through that cash because, like with time, money's the same thing. If you don't tell yourself or tell it what to do, it'll tell you. So I was just, spending money stupidly and not being a good steward of what God has given me. So I had to
Right.
kind of get that in line a little bit later in life. But that's how I was able to kind of maybe get a little bit of traction in my business.
Would you say that, because you talked about getting some mentors in your life,
Yeah.
what would you attribute the strength that you had to find to like reinvent yourself a couple of times, right? So you went from wholesaling, almost losing your house, and then you built a business with some friends. They decided to pivot and go somewhere else, and you needed to come. What What do you feel like was inside you that allowed you to push through those obstacles? Because a lot of people said, "Okay, I'm done. Right? My
Mhm.
my friends left me. My business isn't going the way I want to." I mean, I know you went to Tony Robbins, and as
Mhm.
far as I know, everyone that goes there comes back changed.
Yeah.
So, um, do you think it was something internal? Do you think it was truly that event, or was there something else?
Well, I think there's burning things inside of me for a period of time. If there's one word that when you said that came to mind was pain.
Yeah.
And what do we do with pain more times than not? We either push it away, we don't confront it, or it just gets to such a point in our life that we need to figure something out. I
Right.
mean, I was no different than the sellers I help each and every day. Our goal is to help them uncover that pain and say, hey, here's how we can serve you. Right. And I
Right.
think what I was doing is pushing my pain away so often and trying to cover it and not deal with it,
Right.
that when I finally had that, I guess for lack of better terms, coming to Jesus moment. I mean, I'm, I've been a Christian all my life and a lover of the Lord, but it was a real getting serious with me. Taking him in that if anything that 4 days did for me, Jose, is I got to spend time on myself. And
That's
truthfully,
awesome.
bro, no one does that often. And the people that do are successful. When
Right.
you take introspective of yourself and realize why am I the way that I am? We can use all the excuses. My family was that way. That's just the way. I mean, that's just clear BS.
Right.
We have the right to write our own story. And what I decided to do is I determined that I'm going to rewrite who I am because I have a bigger plan for myself and my family and the legacy I want to build. It wasn't easy, but I just took massive imperfect action and pushed past my self-limiting beliefs. and rewrote these new I am statements in my life that gave me the empowerment. Wrap that all up with just my belief and faith in God is what really empowered me to push through the tough moments and overcome.
That's awesome. That's great. I don't know
Yeah,
if you can't see in the thing, but I'm wearing my faith shirt.
I love it,
So
brother.
I'm a brother of faith
Amen.
with
Love
you.
it. Yeah.
Um, so we've talked before this, and
Mhm.
I'd like for you to kind of share with people your. It seems like you've taken your journey to the next step in sharing that mindset shift. Can you
Yes.
share with people the other business outside of real estate that you do to help people that
Yeah,
are in real
absolutely.
estate?
Yeah, I mean, and we're a full-on wholesaling business. We're based out of Wisconsin. My business is House Buyer Dan. You can check us out online if you want. But really what I've realized is there's a lot of, I mean, there's so much education out there. There's YouTube University. You don't need me to teach you how to do real estate. We were just talking before this, like the real estate business, truthfully, is kind of the easy part. Because if you follow the processes that most coaches and people on the internet teach you, you will be successful. But
Right.
here's what happens. You never follow the process through. You'll get to step 2, step 3, you get some adversity and you're like, "Ugh, I knew this wasn't going to work. I read the comments and the guy said this doesn't work in my market." All the crud that gets put in our brain.
Right.
So what you need is to also work on that mindset piece, because I can only speak for myself and the people that I've helped to this point.
Right.
That's what's been holding them back. So what I've created is a course, or ultimately I teach people, I help them understand how to build the business, super easy part, give them all the tools to do that. But let's also work on your mindset. Let's go to some of those places that maybe you've not wanted to go, but we're going to go there. And for the people that have gotten serious about it, I've seen some major breakthroughs in their life, and they're doing things that they would have never expected they're doing right now. So doing that together gives you strength and power to really scale on a pretty monumental level.
That's awesome. Awesome. So you've been you said 12, 13 years now.
16 now, yeah, 16 now. The
Mhm.
first 12 were kind of my education years, so we'll leave it at that. We'll say,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
I like to call it my expensive webinars.
It was expensive because I paid a lot of money on coaching, mentoring that I just never took to heart. Yeah.
Yeah. And then to me, it was some of the failures, right? Because I learned from my failures. So
Yes,
those also became very expensive.
they do. But that's
But
our best learning lessons in those low points in life. And when we put it through that prism of
right.
like, instead of what was me, understand, yeah, I have the moment of this is the suck, but how can I grow from this? And the
Absolutely.
quicker that you can flip that switch allows you to pivot faster and see monumental growth out of that.
So true.
Yeah.
In your 16 years journey, can you share a good story and a bad story you've had in your journey that people could learn
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, man. I mean, I'm just trying to think specifically. I can think of. Oh, here's a great story. This happened recently. So I had a deal that came across our desk that we're working, and the woman was going into bankruptcy. She was living in it. Her husband had passed. Husband was dealing with some things. The husband was the guy. Like he handled all the financial things, everything. And the
Right.
woman was just, she was there. And then, she was kind of trying to hold it all together. And granted, this was a higher end property than typically we would deal with, but we wanted to help her. We wanted to serve her. So we started going through the process. We went through Novation to help her because we just needed to get her more of a value. So we got this thing done. We found an end buyer. Everything was going well. So this is a good story, but also a challenge. So you'll find that with a lot of every deal you learn from. Know that even today, I'm sure you can speak that too. There's not a. I always say, when am I going to learn something? Because it's always going to happen in every deal.
Right.
So the situation with this was, okay, the lady had 2 liens on the property. Her first, which we thought we could cover. The second, all the numbers made sense, and we were just waiting for this payoff for the second, which at that point I think was like $42,000. So she would have been walking away with a little bit of walking money at the end of the day, but she just wanted to be done with it, right?
Sure.
Well, we finally got the payoff, and apparently, not even apparently, this is what actually happened. There were no payments made on the second mortgage for 8 years.
Uh-oh.
And the second lien holder never foreclosed, never even started that process, what have you. And now they're asking, because we got the payoff, like, well, no, we want $117,000 for
Oh, wow.
non-payment, the forced insurance. The deal was not happening. There's
Right.
no money on this for anyone. And my end buyer, who was a retail buyer, was not going to come to close with cash, right? That was
Sure.
just not the play. So we had to get creative. That was a gut check moment for me. And I'm like, you know what? I am a deal maker. I use that I am statement. I am a deal maker. So what did I do? I got on the phone and called that second lender and like, hey, what's going on here? Like, truthfully, you're kind of not being great in the situation. And here's the other caveat. The woman was on the cusp of being bankrupted. And I
Right.
had to work with the bankruptcy attorney to have to talk to the judge to kick that can down the road 3, 4, 5 times to get extensions. Every time, by the grace of God, Jose, it worked. And
Right.
finally, through a bunch of hoops and hurdles, I won't share all the crazy details, but sometimes I would spend half the day on hold with this lender. Not a great experience. They finally took a reduction on it. They took what was originally owed. We negotiated that down. We closed the property, and this woman was over the moon. She didn't know all the things we went through to get her through this.
Sure.
Now, I will also say we made a good profit on this, but we earned every single cent, and everyone won. And buyer got a great property in a very desirable area in Wisconsin. We made a nice paycheck for our time. Sellers like, this chapter's finally over. Those are the stories that when business is rough and you're in that ugly patch, you got to glean from and
Yeah,
be like, this
exactly.
is why I'm in it. We're here to serve people, right? So
Totally.
that's, probably maybe a combination of all of them,
Right.
I'm trying to think of an ugly story. Oh, that kind of covered, I don't know, that kind of covered the good, bad, and the ugly, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's another like crazy story that I've had that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and maybe it's because I'm an optimistic guy. I don't spend too much on the bad. I
Nobody
always
does.
try to see the
Everybody that
bright.
asks the question too, that's the first thing they say. It's like, I can't think of anything bad. I always find a good in something, you know. And I'm
But
like,
yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say that I know in every transaction, there's always going to be some, I call it hair, little hair
sure,
on it, right? And with the people that we're dealing with and wholesaling, these are hairy deals just because they're behind on payments or there's these liens that no one knew about. Someone passed away. There's
right,
a hoard going on inside. I mean, these are just not clean transactions. So I think that's always kind of the ugly is like, when's the shoe going to drop? With every deal. Some are more challenging than others. Every now and then you get a layup where it's like, well, that went very well. And we'll take those too. But the layups are just like in the NBA, they don't happen all that often.
right,
So you're thankful when they do.
exactly. So we've gone through a lot today. We talked
Yeah.
about you started from like everybody else, job, got into wholesaling, started a business. Now
Mhm.
you're starting to see some success. You offer mindset type of service. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, take advantage of your services, or maybe partner with you on wholesaling or get some
Yeah,
give you
absolutely.
some guidance on wholesaling, how would they do that?
Yeah, there's a few different options. Obviously, I'm all over the socials, so you can find me. I mean, I'm on Facebook, just my name, Dan Alborn. The H is silent, so it's AHLBORN. You can find me there, friend me. That's cool. I do have a free Facebook group. So if you want to just be part of like-minded people, my journey, Jose, would not be where it is today if I did not surround myself and get in the rooms with people that were leveling me up. Matter of fact, even in my journey right now, bro, like I'm trying to find people who are where I want to be.
Right.
So if you're not where you want to be today, get in this space. It's free. You can introduce yourself. You can share thoughts, ideas. It's real estate and mindset, right? So it's flipping my identity. If you find me on Facebook, friend me. I'll get you invited to the groups. That's free. So that's how you find me there. Follow me on Instagram. I'm posting almost regularly of just daily mindset, real estate tips, techniques, things like that. That's at House Buyer Dan. Otherwise, I actually just wrote an ebook that I'm willing to give away. I was just telling you about it. I'm having some challenges formatting it, but by the time that this thing airs, we'll have it locked and loaded. But it's called Flip Your Future, and it's 5 steps to build wealth and find purpose through real estate. It's a real quick read. There's even a checklist at the end. People love checklists that you can do daily to start getting the right steps. You got to build habits and patterns, and this will
Absolutely.
help you not only from a business perspective, but getting your mind right. So I'm willing to give that away to anyone in your audience. We'll get a link, I guess, that you can maybe put in
It'll
this.
be down in the description, guys.
Yeah, it'll be down in the description. We'll get that to you guys so you guys can have access to that. But yeah, I'd love to interact with you. And obviously, if you want to talk more about coaching, mentoring, we do some of that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, man, I just love to serve. It's all about purpose.
Right.
And I'll share this maybe in closing. I actually today had a very good friend of mine reach out to me. He had posted a Bible passage online, and he'd shared with me a situation where it's like, "Hey, bro," I said, "like that was encouraging, thank you." And he messaged me back. He's like, "My wife's not doing well, like just out of the blue, like not great, like she's in hospice." And so here's the real kicker: is he's in a similar stage in life than me. Like my kids are all gone. It's just me and my wife, my dog living here in Florida. His kids are all off doing their life and similar age. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, bro, that could be me.
Yeah.
And so what I got perspective is that the reason I'm in this business is that I have the freedom to live my life on my terms.
Agreed.
And if I wanted to jump on a plane right now and say, "Hey, Jose, I'm sorry I can't do the podcast. I got to go see a friend of mine," I could do that. Now, I didn't have to do that, but I have the freedom to be able to do that. And yeah, you see all the flashy stuff with real estate and the guys driving the Lambos and all those influencers. And you know what? I'm not hating on that.
Nope.
There's a point in time of that, but the whole point of why we get into this business is freedom. And it really shook me to my core. And I was so thankful that God's allowed me to build this business out in that way, that I have that in my life. And the cool thing is you can have it too, if you have the big why and the purpose behind why you're doing it. So
Totally agree. And thank you for that. I mean, it's a blessing that, I pray, thank you for the new day, right? Because
yeah,
tomorrow's never promised. So, um,
absolutely. I'm
glad that,
so humble. Every day I'm so blessed. We all, you know, we have so many ways that we can get frustrated and challenged, and specifically in real estate, there's a lot of things that come our way. I mean, you were just booking a deal before we jumped on a call, right? So we have things that come in our peripherals, but
right,
no matter how challenging it is, we have so many things to be grateful for. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're grateful. So if you want to flip the script on your life, go to gratefulness.
absolutely. Well, on that note,
Yeah,
again,
man.
Dan, thank you so much for coming on, enlightening us with your journey, your things that you've gotten accomplished, dropping all those nuggets, providing the service that you
Yeah.
do to help people with their mindset. To the audience, again, thank you so much for sticking with me and going through this. I hope that you're gaining value from these episodes, and that if you want to see something specific, let me know. Dan, again, great friend now, and
Yeah,
look
man. I
forward
love
to
to
finding a way
continue to
for
connect
us
with you.
to work together. And you know, I need to tell you, the person that I interviewed right before you, he's from Wisconsin too. So you're like the second person in a week
Oh, really?
that I've met from Wisconsin, and I haven't met the first person that I met. I shouldn't say first person, but in more recent time, her name is Amber. Met her at a webinar, and then she's like, "Yeah, I don't ever know anybody that's up here." Um,
I'd love to connect with her. I mean, we're doing a ton of business in Wisconsin, so maybe off air you can get us connected. I'd love to touch base with her. So that'd be great.
Absolutely, that's the plan. I like to connect
Thank you.
people to make sure that they can,
Thank you.
find some local
Thank you.
resources. So,
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
getting back to what we're here for,
Yeah.
again, to the audience, thank you so much for coming out,
Yeah,
watching this.
man.
Let me know if you need anything, and we'll see you on the next time.
Sounds good. Deuces.